about Joyce?
The same question?
Yeah. Or if you want, you can comment on the poetic form.
I want to say more about the old masters.
Okay, sure.
I think the old masters here that means the painters that I think it's kind of sarcastic. The poem it's kind of sarcastic. Because we know that the painters, they know how to portray people's suffering, and so they understood them. They understood. So they understood. In the 1, 2, 3, in the fourth stanza, how everything turns away, and the plowman may have heard the splash, the forsaken cry, and the expensive, delicate shape, and something amazing. I think that Auden is he's being sarcastic to say that the I don't know.
Being sarcastic about what? About the ship?
The painters. They may be skilled at know how to paint, but they may not be really understand the situation. Stuff like that.
Okay. I tend to have a different interpretation. Let's take a look at the painting again. Here, I would think that Auden is perceptive in focusing on the plowman, the sun, and the expensive, delicate ship, because I think these represent three roles, three significant roles. One is natural phenomenon, and the other is a worker who has to do his work, and the other is a ship with maybe upper class people enjoying their trip, having fun. So I think that to try to understand what these three roles feel or relate to the tragedy, is a kind of interpretation that Auden does to this painting, and I feel that it's a good interpretation, but not being sarcastic. In other words, feel here about suffering, they were never wrong, the old masters. For me, it is a tribute to the old masters made by Auden, but not really to criticize the old masters. And the poem shows a kind of zooming in from the old masters and the general descriptions of the coexistence of daily occurrences with human suffering, to the second four lines where one painting is described, and then the third four lines, the third quatrain, not 4 lines, 5 lines, another painting is described, to the mentioning of Bruegel and Icarus. So I think the speaker moves from the very general, and then without naming the first 2 paintings, he zoomed into the third one, and then name the third one. So here, Bruegel is like singled out as one of the old masters, although the previous 2 paintings were all done by him. But Auden uses the previous 2 examples and the general examples to talk about the artist, the old artists in general. And then here he zooms in to Burgos. And at the end, I think that for the plowman being more concerned with daily existence, of course, this is not an important failure. Because it just shows, like what John pointed out, that this Icarus is too ambitious, and he's bound to fail. So it's compared with his own planting and harvesting. This failure is not an important one for him. So plowman is different from like the children here. Children are maybe ignorant, naive about what has happened, or what is happening. Just as dogs and horses, they are not aware of what is happening. Okay, and this is like us being in this classroom. We are not aware of what may be happening in this world, all the other tragedies that may be happening. Okay, but the plowman, the son, and the expensive delicate ship, they witness the tragedy. So it's different from us who don't know what is happening at this point, the other tragedies that are happening at this point. They witness the tragedy. But the sun being part of the natural phenomena, like the horses and the dogs, the sun has to shine on. And the sun is innocent in shining on the white legs disappearing into the green. So it's part of the natural setup of the scenery. Okay, and then plowman takes a different perspective from Icarus. I think what is the least acceptable will be the expensive delicate ship, because it just finds something amazing. The falling of Icarus is not anything. It's not even seen as a failure. It's not seen as a tragedy. It's just something amazing, a sight for them, a spectacle for them. And then they have somewhere to get to, maybe the next stop for entertainment, for their tourism. Okay, so they sail calmly on. Okay, so I think this is the idea that there are different kinds of indifferences, different kinds of ignorance about human suffering. And maybe the last one is the least acceptable one. Okay, a quick note about the poetic form. I marked where there are rhymes. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Never wrong, along, stood, and would, waiting, skating, away, may, cry, sky, shone, on, in. But other lines are not rhyme. So this is a little bit with the poetic, the arrangement of n rhymes. This way, I think it's similar to maybe the existence of something organized with something messy in daily lives. If we see some pattern in our tragedies, then daily existence will be, really messy, with so many possible other possibilities happening around the same time. Or maybe we can say that the daily routine is the organized, suggested by the rhymes, and then the tragedies are the unexpected, the chaotic, the elements of chaos in our lives. Okay, either way, I think the rhymes here, and also the irregular lines, suggest really the way life can be organized and messy, both at the same time. Also, don't forget that in the first part of the poem, the line lengths vary all the time. But when Auden, the speaker, talks about Icarus, the lines are mostly of the same length. So all the way through, you see in this poem a kind of mixing of the regularity and the irregularity, or the rhyme part with the unrhymed part, to suggest that life is like that. Okay? Yes, let me see what I missed. The innocent, the indifferent, suffering. The innocent will be the children's play, animalistic survival, routine work of the peasant, the sun shining. But the expensive delicate ship will be examples of the indifferent. Okay? And don't forget to analyze also the way Icarus is presented, but not named. Presented as a splash, a cry, and then white legs, and a boy falling out of sky, without being named. Okay, and altogether, I think that so yeah, this is where my interpretation differs from Joyce's. But Joyce can think further about your interpretation, and maybe you can find evidence to support yourself. Okay, I would think that the speaker speaks for the old masters, so his position is the same with the old masters, and in a way, his interpretation is, a one of wisdom. So in that way, he is similar to the old masters too. Okay, yeah. Here I have a few slides to provide you with some backgrounds, and also to bring the poem closer to us. Because Auden wrote this poem actually after he witnessed 中日战争. I think it does make the whole story of Icarus maybe a bit closer to us, because the chaotic events he described of the Sino-Japanese wars, like how the place is filled with machine guns, anti-aircraft guns, and also there are machines being out of control, white parachute mushroom out over the river while the plane plunged on, and crashed, etc., etc. So the whole disaster that he described here brought him to write this poem about Musée des Beaux-Arts. Okay, so maybe we get to see that really the chaotic events of the Second World War, is something he has in mind, but not just the fall of Icarus. The fall of Icarus is used just as an example to show that there could be something which was heroic in traditional stories, but here in today's society, it is seen as really something indifferent, something insignificant as the pair of white legs. Yeah. Also, don't forget that maybe next semester, for those of you who will take a mythology, you'll get to know of its metamorphosis, 变形记. A lot of Greek mythology figures from Greek mythology gets to be described in this metamorphosis, and in metamorphosis, Ovid presents the fall of Icarus as something significant. That some fisher stood there in astonishment. Unlike Bruegel's painting, where Icarus is really unnoticed, completely forgotten about by the other people around him. Yeah. Okay. And the other thing for your comparison is this is a very simple poem by William Carlos Williams. Just now, when Susan responded to when I heard the learned astronomer, I suddenly thought of one thing, and that is the role of science in poetry. In 19th century poems, usually science is not seen as human. Science is seen as something cold, detached, objective, but then really aloof from the human or poetic world. But in the 20th century, with the invention of photography, trains, etc., and also typewriter too, the poets start to appreciate the scientific spirit, and also experimenting poetry with some machines or in conjunction with some machines. So Carlos Williams is one example. And next time you'll be reading in a station of the metro, 在那个地铁的车站, there are only 2 lines. That poem has only 2 lines, but a lot of interpretation can be made of those 2 lines, which is pretty much a celebration of modern life, modern city life, centering on the metro station. Okay, so here Carlos Williams is another poet who appreciates poetic spirit, scientific spirit. So his language is very simple, but he uses a typewriter to arrange the poetic lines in such a way that the shape of the lines create some meanings. For instance, here it's almost like wings. The short and long lines are like wings, of the Icarus. But he uses very simple language to describe whatever happens around Icarus. A farmer was plowing his field. A whole pageantry of the ear was awake, tingling near the edge of the sea, concerned with itself, blah, blah, blah. And until at the end, the splash is not noticed, Icarus was drowning. So you can read this poem yourself to see how this is also another presentation of the fall of Icarus. Also a presentation to show that this fall is not anything heroic, as heroic as the animation shows, but something mundane, something insignificant, something that nobody notices. Yeah. Okay. So this is just for your reference, and also this is a photography with the name Icarus atop Empire Building, Empire State Building. You see that the photographer celebrates the workers of Empire Building. The beginning of 20th century shows the constructions of a lot of skyscrapers, and those workers, they really risk their lives to build those skyscrapers. Okay, I don't know the exact detail, but I know that their working conditions are really dangerous, and they see themselves as adventurous in doing some skillful works like climbing along this cable. I don't know what he's doing, but this person, this laborer, is seen as a modern Icarus. A modern Icarus. Okay, there are a lot of other poems about Icarus. So if you follow the links, you can get to see